morning to you, Oluseun.
Good morning. It's a pleasure being here today.
It's a pleasure having
you physically for the
and
first
also,
time.
well done on all the hard work you guys are doing at Budget. I must say, if no one's going to say it, I will have taken off my hat as a journalist and put on my hat as a concerned citizen in quotation marks there. And so I have to ask about the findings with this year budget regarding the alleged 6.6 trillion naira allocated to unspecified budgets in the 2024 budget. How did you come across this, and what exactly are we looking at? What's the magnitude of what we're looking at?
Yeah, I think it's also raising the alarm, and this is not the first time that we have been raising this alarm. We've said that the National Assembly, when the budget goes in, what comes out, it's a different ball game entirely. We've had the president present like a 43 trillion naira budget. That budget was raised to 54.99 trillion naira, technically 55 trillion. We had close to like 14 trillion being added to the budget if you look at it properly. And the question we asked ourselves, what kind of projects are now added into the budget? Because we needed to interrogate that properly to understand if these projects were tied to national priorities, if they were focused on national budget. There was a proposal by the executive, has over 30,000 projects already that the president has presented to the National Assembly. Now, you now add another 11,000 projects, bringing almost 40,000 projects that's been delivered by the executive. And we felt, what kind of projects are these? And then when we brought down our analysis, we figured that the whole of these projects are not, broadly speaking, to the Nigerian needs. They are mostly constituency projects for lawmakers and National Assembly. Around 6.93 trillion of capital items in MDAs were added into the budget, and over 11,000 projects.
Can you be specific regarding what kind of items were added?
Yeah, and if you look at it properly, constituency projects in that regard was around 3 to 4 trillion naira. If you dive deeply at the one that was specific into the federal constituency and the senatorial district, because you will see something like construction of boreholes across constituencies. You don't know which constituencies those boreholes will be constructed, so they leave it as a blank check. You don't even know who's responsible for that. But the ones that are specific for senatorial districts and the federal constituencies are over 1 trillion naira. And the question we've asked ourselves, is this the best use of public resources? Previously, around 100 billion was given to National Assembly for constituency projects. It's always placed under the capital supplementation items. They were stuck to that for a while, but after a while, they started getting into the MDA's budget. And so, two problems you have. You have first fragmentation of the project. For crying out loud, this is not a local government budget. This is not Ikeja local government budget. This is a federal budget. So you expect that the projects in the budget will span across geographies. It will be a project that connects maybe an Oyo and Osun. If it's only a project in Oyo, it will be serving multiple people, not you trying to build a borehole, a school, an hospital, and talking things indiscriminately around. And because we know that those things distort national priorities, making an analogy in the last few days that I can hardly drive 200 kilometers in southwest Nigeria in a pothole-free road, the federal road, because that project gets a 10 billion naira allocation almost annually, and you release 8 billion naira out of that money. The contractor delivers something worth 4 billion naira, and he waits till next year and he gets another 10 billion. And in another 5 years, he comes back and says, oh, the price of the contract has changed, I need variation. And you go back, and the project that was supposed to cost 100 billion now costs 300 billion naira. And so, because we've not been focused and we have not been direct, we put all our resources all over the place. We've not been able to get the kind of results that we need. So some of this is not a conversation on what is legal, what is illegal. Some of the conversation is that what should be permissible in a democracy. If the National Assembly have appropriation powers, which we do not contest that, but the question is that, are they using those powers to serve the broader public objective?
Very good question. Mr. Onigbinde, let me ask this now. If these budgets are supposed to be for projects that are supposed to help the masses, roads, boreholes, and all of this, I want to ask regarding the public perception or trust that we have in this renewed hope administration as against what it was from before. Are we seeing that our trust is declining? Was it better from past administration, or is it getting worse?
I think trust is on a all-time low now, and what is creating that is
In comparison to previous
because lack of solidarity, and I guess there's a lot of political activity happening right now, and a lot of people have mentioned that that might be pointers to a sign, maybe there's a bit of challenge or worry on the side of the main political actors. Because, I mean, the Nigerian government has not kept up in solidarity with the people. Where a subsidy was removed and the exchange rate parity was found. It took almost a year after that to even negotiate a minimum wage. And you even had to even put a lot of pressure, even after another 4, 5, 6 months, to even get it to be executed properly. Even till now, we have many states, we are doing the research to even look at compliance with the minimum wage. Many states are still not in compliance with the minimum wage. So there's a trust problem. That it seems as if...
But who's briefing the president? Because only just 2 days ago at the APC National Summit, he claims that these monies that have been taken away from subsidies are being infused into other projects inside of Nigeria and that it is working.
I mean, to be honest, state governors are excited with the president. I won't even be surprised if all the 36 state governors endorse the president. Yeah, because, I mean, if you were, like I'm from my Oyo state, you were on like a 6 to 8, 7 billion naira per month before. You're now clocking around 13 to 16 billion monthly now, for allocations. I mean, some states are now in 22, 30, 40 billion naira monthly.
So you're saying he's buying the state governors over?
It's not buying the state government. I won't put it that way. I would say the devaluation of the currency has created much more naira for state governments to play with. And I think for most of them, the question is that have those funds, have they been shifted to the priorities of the people? It looks like you see most of them are still trying to get themselves into, I want to build an airport. I want to engage in this white elephant project that do not have direct bearing on the people. I think what is missing is that when these policies were taken, there was no cohesive national policy to say, how do we as a federal and the state government respond to the challenges faced by the people? Right. It just means that you have more money, you have more things to play with. And I'm really excited that the president is giving us that opportunity.
Right. Let's look at, BudgIT and its work and other, civic society that have continually called for transparency and accountability, especially in the budget process. And you said in your early submission that this is not the first time that issues like this have been flagged, especially with the budget, the 2024 budget, right? And so it begs to ask the question about mechanism to prevent budget padding. Has this administration done that? Has past administration done that? Have past green and red chambers done this? And if they are this mechanism, why is it not being followed to the T, that line items are being itemized appropriately with locations and better specifics so that people can follow?
I think there's first problem. We have a very weak budget office of the Federation. I think that's where our problem starts. That office has not been empowered. Previously, when Mr. Okonjo-Iweala was the Minister of Finance, she was big on the fact that the budget office has to sit with the finance ministry, not with the planning ministry. Because I think in her mind, I can't be planning and I can't be disbursing money, and the planning is thinking this way. So she wanted like a whole total ode of value chain, and that's why she was called coordinating minister for the economy then. The reality is just that the budget office is significantly weak to be able to counteract this. And it's not just this current budget, even the previous budget office seemed helpless on this situation. The second thing also is the executive powers, because for more thing around the budget, we could write, these are the nuances, these are the separation of powers, executive, judiciary, legislature. But in reality, there's a political economy around this issue too, that the president must understand that the budget is my policy instrument, is my planning instrument. So if it means I go and meet the Senate president and call the appropriation chairs and call the speakers and say, guys, I don't think this indiscriminate adjustment of the budget is effective. Let's not forget, prior to 2015, we had the budget passed around May and June. Then it took a lot of time. And why? Because there was always back and forth between the executive and the legislature about what gets into the budget. Because when the budget is signed into the law, it's an act of the parliament. You are bound to deliver it, and people will put pressure to get their own items done. The president should be able to have a grip. What I see here is that the president maybe his own personal philosophy, because I also wonder that is a former lawmaker. The vice president is a former lawmaker. The SGF is a former lawmaker.
He's also an accountant, by the way. Let's remember this.
Yeah.
I
So
want
maybe
to
they
ask,
care that. Maybe they think that
Is
the
it-
administration should handle it end to end.
is it the presidency now? Is it the president himself, or what mechanism can be put in place to actually work against the padding? Because you have to ask whether it's the president himself who's padding. I don't think so.
No,
So what mechanism could be put in place for the apparatus under him to not pad the budget?
I don't think what's happening right now is even padded because, you know, when you say something is padded, I think my own understanding is that beyond what is passed into not by the National Assembly, because that's what we had the previous time, even when the budget is signed by the National Assembly, so people go back and now make adjustments to that budget before it's been transmitted to the president for signing. Or even sometimes when even the FEC, the Federal Executive Council, signs off on the budget, before it gets to National Assembly, we'll take it back to the MDs and make adjustment. My own understanding, that was part of it. What we have is the National Assembly abusing its appropriation powers. Because I want to also
Abusing its
yeah,
appropriation
it's an abuse of public powers. That's what I think I see at this point. You are not using public powers to serve public interest, you know, and you are not tying it into some form of planning.
Sorry, Mr. Onigbinde, let's come to the grassroots now. These public interests. I don't know, Judith, if you agree with me. Who indicates that this is in the interest of the people? And what steps does it take before getting to the authority that's defined, these are the projects that we're going to allocate funds to? Maybe if we start from there, we will have a mechanism in place to ensure that the right projects get funding. I don't know, do you agree?
You're right on that, because I also think most of these projects, CSOs are engaged on that, about need-based projects.
Need-based, yes.
Right.
Some of these constituency projects, I mean, we did the research on solar power poles and solar power streetlights. In the last 2 years, 64% of them don't last.
Yet
2
they're
years.
all over the country.
And they're all over the country. And they're delivered at inflated
And
sums.
it makes me wonder whether they don't do their SWOT analysis on this projects or this, you know, this initiative that they embark on. There is a water thing that is in my mother's village where you have to pump. That thing is lying down there for eons, for as long as I can remember. And until this day, I think it only worked for like 2 months, and it's a relic at this point.
Yeah, I mean, and so you could see things like that dotted around the entire country. And so even for this constituency project, you worry about the delivery of them. The significance of the chunk of those constituency projects are now empowerment projects. So you have a National Assembly member care more about these drone shots of long list of sewing machines, tricycles, motorcycles. I mean, look like a long array of things to commit or to prove to people that I'm working. And we're distorting the incentives of what lawmaking should be about. It's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, you're supposed to do some constituency project. But if I'm a member of parliament and I have an opportunity to insert 10 billion naira in the budget, you might be a new member and you do not know your way around, and you can only put $1 billion naira. You know, it looks as if you're not doing anything. It looks like you're not working.
So it becomes a competition of how
Yeah,
much you
it
can show
becomes
off.
so now there's not so much pressure on the MDAs, so much pressure
Yeah.
on the MDAs to get some of these projects done. And now you now even have some MDAs that are notorious. So they go and meet the National Assembly members and say, our procurement process is smooth. There's this opportunity for yours to make sure that you do the nomination of the project end to end. We would ensure that the project gets put in the budget, put in our budget. So you have some projects, like there's a federal cooperative called Oji River.
Right.
I think it's like Enugu State.
Right.
I don't know what's the business of Oji River constructing a road in Gombe. You know, do something. I mean, where the oversight like?
I think this was in 2022 or 2023, and if I forget, please help me and jog my memory. I think it was the Minister of Finance at the time who had to, you know, there was this headline in the news regarding the budget for her ministry, you know, and how, you know, it seemed to be padded or the figures were changing. But there was also a process where she was called in by the House, and, you know, she had to defend it. That process where all of the MDA heads, that's the ministry, department, and agencies, have to come in and defend their budget and defend it. It doesn't seem to be happening anymore. I mean, we just saw the minister of the FCT, Oluseun Onigbinde. It was pass mark across the entire house. No one seems to object that 1.7 or is it 2.7 trillion?
1.78
1.78 trillion naira allocation for the budget allocation for the FCT. And so it begs to ask the question about accountability and transparency within themselves at the House of Senate and the heads of the MDAs that go on there to are we not worried about that? Have they now become lax, so to speak, you know, or is this just a yes man situation or upholding the renewed hope agenda initiative?
It's an aberration of institutions because that's not how democracy is meant to work. I mean, there's no place where the budget is presented in a functional democracy and it's passed immediately. I mean, I heard Senator Abdul said, "Oh, we should just clear this." I mean, number one, you're an opposition senator, which there's a huge expectation that the scrutiny should be big on your mind. Then you go ahead and you have not even looked at the content. You have not even shown that it's delivering impact of what it should be. It speaks to the issues within the FCT and its metropolis. It's an aberration of institutions, and it's what you get because we talk about this at the state level. That the state houses of assembly act as if they are an extension of the governor's office.
Right.
We're beginning to see that trend more strong. I mean, we had the house where we had the National Assembly openly disagreeing with the president, and which is open. With the Saraki-led government, with the Tambuwa-led assembly, which is fine. I'm not saying that you work at cross purposes, but the perception and the reality must show a certain level of independence. But what we have right now is the Senate president taking the mic and making
and what does it mean what does that perception mean for the international stage, for that's looking in at us and seeing what's happening? We're being pressed for time, so if you can answer in 30 seconds.
It's not good because when people assess democracies, and all of these things add to the risk factors as a country. And don't forget, as a sub-region, we are already at risk because of this coup bet that has been happening around. So we need to figure out ways to strengthen development, very critical, to strengthen dialogue, and also strengthen competition within a democracy. If those three things are missing, democracy itself is in great peril.
Sad and very frightening, I would say.
Yeah.
Very
I say
frightening.
shift focus from amenities to development, or pick a side. I don't know, because you can part a lot when it comes to I'm trying to develop my people, and so I'm going to help them out with tricycles. How about I provide the amenities, proper amenities, not solar-powered streetlights, if you get what I mean.
Anyway, there's no time. I want to say something, but I must say thank you, Mr. Onigbinde, for just coming in. We appreciate you for coming in.